Good morning. This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of The Future of Email. My guest today, all the way from Hungary, Roland Pokornyik, CEO and founder of Chamaileon, right? Roland, welcome.
Hey, Matthew, and hey, everyone. Thanks
Good
for having me.
afternoon to you. Good morning to me. Husband and father of two girls, I think your LinkedIn bio.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
And
5-year-old, a
5-year-old and a
10-year-old,
what?
10.
Ooh, okay, you're gonna be a busy guy for a few years here.
Yeah, thankfully, my wife is pretty supportive
Yeah.
of me running a business and, having family life somehow together. So, yeah, like many say, you cannot be successful without a supportive wife in this case.
Amen to that, bro. Fill people in a bit on Chameleon. How long, what focus, how it's evolved, if that.
We started quite a while ago. Our first product was called EDM Designer. It's still available. It's an email builder tool. We focused only on the pain point of creating emails without touching the email code at all.
Okay. Wow.
And we had a white label business. So we white labeled the editor interface for various ESPs.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had a standalone product, but the more significant revenues came from the white label business.
Okay.
And after a while, we decided that the actual customers or prospects we had conversations with were looking for something more complex, like an email production tool where they can create the emails, they can deal with the design, the content updates, iterate on the messages, and do it in a scalable manner and with really strongly built in team collaboration. And that was sometime, I think, in 2016, 17-ish when we got this interest. And there were already some guys, Taxi for Email, they were around by that time.
Yep.
I know Elliot personally, and I know that you had a conversation with him.
Yeah, with Elliot.
But there were some solutions already existing, but we haven't seen any that would pretty much bundle together the no-code approach with this scalable email creation process.
So
And that's when
would I be fair in summarizing that what you just said is you went from a tool for a single person to really addressing the process for the organization? Yes.
Yes, exactly. Like the process, the workflow as a whole, and the team collaboration that I think by a few years ago, I think it was like 2 years ago, we got interest from a huge publisher from the US, and they were looking for real-time collaboration, meaning that they had a bunch of journalists working on their newsletters early morning, and it took them too much time, and they were looking for a tool where they could collaborate like as if they were using Google Docs.
I see.
And
I see.
that's when we invested a bunch of resources, time, and effort, all those combined to build a real-time collaboration into Chamaileon. And we were the first one to have it, but of course, it's not the biggest thing that you can do to be the first one, because others are also adding this functionality. I guess, we speak to the same kind of customers, and that's just how the whole industry and the needs of email teams evolve.
Yeah. Well, you're being unduly modest, I gotta say, because real time touching of email layout, like I'm working on it, you're working on it, a la, as you said, Google Docs. That is not a technically trivial thing to pull off.
No, it wasn't. I'm not the technical person. Yeah, I think it took something like 9 months for a team of 3 to 5 people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, they were working on sometimes on other things, but I think apart from the real-time collaboration, the undo redo was a challenge. That was the big.
Wow. You do that. Wow. Yeah, that's big. That's big.
Yeah. And yeah, I think they would be able to talk about it for an hour or two.
Or 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was technically a challenge, and we know that it's extremely useful for some customers,
Sure.
while many others still have a more linear process. So we need to combine somehow the more linear process with this real-time capability. And we try to stay more of a service provider, like a software as a service provider rather than agency. But we do help customers to get started.
Okay.
And what they are looking for nowadays is still efficiency. So that's the key term. Everybody's looking for efficiency. So maybe it's not as exciting, but they are looking for efficiency and they want to be able to speed up the email production from weeks, in some cases, to a matter of days or hours. And that's what we have a solution for. And just, for example, we get compared with Taxi for Emails, Tenantswall, or Dispatch, NAC. So there are some providers in the space. And of course, each of us have benefits. We've been focused on two key areas. One is the design flexibility. So we try to create a software that enables you to do as much as possible from a design perspective. And the second thing is the HTML quality, which is something that, you hear that, okay, the emails are responsive. And that's what everybody has been telling to their customers, I think, from sometime 2013 when we started out. Many providers thought that, okay, these emails are responsive. But if you ran Litmus or email on acid tests, it quickly turned out that, okay, they are mostly responsive, but far from ideal. So that's where we innovate, and that's where we invest a lot of resources. But the clients, this is a minor detail for them, at least for those who are looking for the efficiency part. So there are various solutions to the same pain point, just from a different aspect. But that's why it's great to have the chance to market your solution and talk to customers online pretty much anytime.
Anytime. Well, you're being you're being unduly modest. You have pretty much a global customer base, as I understand it.
Yeah, pretty much from day one. So we never focused on selling locally.
Yeah.
Hungary is not a big market anyway, and there aren't too many providers. We do have a handful of Hungarian customers, but not because we went after them. It's more of us. Some people were just surprised when we replied in Hungarian to a support message. Oh, are you from Hungary? And they said, oh, yes, we are.
As a matter of fact, yes. And your English is fantastic, and my Hungarian is non-existent, unfortunately, at least so far. Darn it!
It's not on Duolingo, I guess, but
it's
I would need to.
Different. It's one of the few languages, like the dot back to Indo-European. Hungarian is a very unusual branch of human language.
Yeah, they say it's among the hardest languages.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah, it's not it's not too tempting for people to learn unless you have a Hungarian wife or you just like Budapest. There are many people traveling to Budapest, not in COVID times, but
well, you opened the door. Okay, I didn't start this, but I got a chance to visit Budapest 4 years ago, and it is easily the most beautiful city I've ever seen. I would go back to Budapest before I would go to Paris, before I would go to New York, before I'd go to London. It's, my God, what a beautiful place. Really.
Yeah, I moved out from Budapest, but of course I visit the city quite often.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are more and more people, mostly freelancers, like digital nomads who
interesting,
chose to stay in Budapest.
Yeah.
And there are many co-working places. If you go out, I think you will quickly hear people speaking English. It's now pretty usual for us. The startup scene is evolving, not as fast as we would want it, but there are great opportunities in this regard, and we have strong technical talent. In
Yeah.
Hungary, less strong from a sales and marketing perspective. So I think a good combination is, if somebody is experienced in sales or marketing and is willing to start a company,
Yeah.
they should travel to Budapest, stay for a few months, network,
Right.
meet new people. Maybe they would be able to find a technical co-founder. There are many people looking for technical co-founders.
Yeah. Well,
Not easy.
not easy anywhere. But the the model you mentioned, let's say it's fair to say sales and marketing is a more cultural and language based thing than say, for example, architecture, infrastructure, and code. One of the email platforms that we partner with, back-end dev team is in Romania. Their front-end dev team is in India, and their office and sales and biz dev are US, and they get to coordinate around the clock, but it works better for them somehow. And that's that's an economy that's quite new and unusual and different in on any span of years. Like, wow, what a world all of a sudden, huh?
Yeah, of course, like COVID changed our lives too as a company.
Yeah.
We turned into a full remote company,
Mhm.
but most of the employees were still from Hungary or around neighboring countries. We're now hiring. We're now going to hire 3 or 4 people, some of them from Brazil, some other from, I think, somewhere from Africa, Pakistan. So it will be quite
Yeah.
diverse.
Yeah.
We have 2 people, one from Croatia and another one from um, Tunis, but she's staying in Paris. So, you know, it's just so nice that, you can build a company now from the comfort of your home
Yeah.
and serve customers all over the globe.
Yeah. And eliminating that 10-mile barricade of, the office is there, so you have to live here, has opened those 1,000-mile and 10,000-mile barricades of, having a developer, having a colleague, having a co-founder in another country. I had Baris Ergin as a guest a while back, founder of an email platform, and he's a man of many parts. Turkey. First time I talked to him, he was in Ukraine. When we had the interview, he's moved to Portugal, but I checked in on him, and because he said he had developers in Ukraine, and he was telling me that they were trying to get some of their technical employees out of Ukraine via Romania and get them to where he is in Portugal. So as we extend work, we also extend relationships and, our need to connect and care for one another. It's big.
And I think, of course, the same happened to companies and to email teams. And that's why the collaboration aspect is
Right.
extremely important for some of them. Of course, if their team is locally concentrated, then not as much important. But since most of the teams became distributed, I think that's one of the reasons why this need became even more visible, and people were reaching out to us and to the fellow providers with similar needs. And
So COVID good for business, ironically.
yeah, for some businesses,
Yeah.
but
For yours.
yes, for software as a service businesses, I think yes. For most of us, it worked out, and I think pretty much everybody reinvested the revenues into building something even better.
Yeah.
So the innovation is still ongoing, although email is the oldest online marketing channel, I would say, but the innovation is ongoing. And
Yeah.
now from an email industry perspective, I see that there is some consolidation going on. So there are
Right.
acquisitions.
Right.
I expect to see more acquisitions coming, and that's pretty natural. What I usually question myself is what will happen in 10 or 20 years? So those are the exciting questions. And I think I first started to have these questions when I went back to my high school to speak to young people about my career path and, the entrepreneurship, because I think I went to the same class with 30 people, 50-50, divided between girls and boys. And it's only two of us. So we were classmates in
Yeah.
in high school who actually founded a company. So I was asked to talk about entrepreneurship. And I was like, okay, guys, who uses email? And there was like one or two guys
Really?
showing their hands from 30 people.
Yeah.
High school. They were like 12 years old-ish, a crew of 12 years old. And it was, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago that I made this question. And I was like, okay, what do you use then? And, they used instant messaging, so not email.
Yep.
So that's why I don't know the answer to this question, but this is something that I think about on a regular basis, that, okay, where would I expect to see email in a longer time frame?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's your take on it.
I get the opportunity to speak at a conference in June, and I made the mistake of sticking my hand way up and taking a big swing at a not quite future of email topic, but definitely what are the factors that are shaping it now. So I've been thinking about that as well. I will give you the brief version of my take, because the speech is not finished by any measure yet. IM and messaging platforms, plural, are definitely going to jostle in and take some attention space and some market space that perhaps email had to itself for a long time, as they remain proprietary, plural, many of them, and not interop. I don't think they'll really displace what we've been doing with email, because there's not one platform. There's legislation in the EU, the DMA, Digital Markets Act, I think it's called, and that says if it passes and is enforced, two different things. That says if Chamaileon decided to create a messaging platform, IM style platform, you could go to Apple and say, you have to interoperate with our, Chamaileon IM platform. And in theory, Apple would have to accommodate that. Will they do it? We'll see. Will we get peace on earth interoperability and all messaging platforms talking to each other, so there's really only one messaging platform?
Yeah.
We'll see. You think keeping an email list coherent and clean is a pain in the butt? Whether you're trying to do it with, 50 different address and message formats. So, and this is accidental, right? This is accidental. The fact that the spec and standards of email were frozen a good quarter of a century ago, right as the net, exploded as the digital infrastructure for the planet, and we got adoption of email. And those standards they haven't evolved a whole lot, right? Fair statement. Email standards haven't evolved a whole lot. IM was a later and a follow on, and late enough where it became a commercially competitive landscape, rather than, oh, look, there's the standard, let's compete on top of the standard, if you will. So from that perspective, I just don't expect messaging to get its crap together and be singular rather than plural.
Yeah, actually, a friend of mine, he has a company called Flipkart, and they focused on messaging for Shopify owners. And, I think he would be the one advocating for messaging. And I say that, okay, maybe it's true for a certain generation, but I don't think that it would be convenient for them to enjoy the same kind of promotion in form of messaging compared to email. So either messaging will turn into something like email, or the opposite way around.
Right. right,
uh,
right,
because
right.
in case of email, you can rather decide when you want to open it. Do you want to open it or not? And I know that there's a thing called SMS marketing in the US.
Yeah, yeah,
It's hardly existent here
yeah,
in
yeah.
Hungary. So I would I would really hate receiving SMS messages.
I'm with you. But why? Why would you hate receiving messages, marketing messages?
I guess because of the push
Because you'd
notification.
look, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it would get your attention.
Yes.
Because if I texted you, you'd probably read it within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Most likely.
most likely, my phone literally just now went ping, and I happen to have set the ping. It's my best friend, so he's got his own unique ping, and I had to go like this and hold my hands up so I'm not looking to see what the message is. Well, I'm in the middle of a conversation with Roland from from Hungary. Backtrack to your thing about the high school, and to be fair, this is what I would call a sample set of two statistically. I have two sons, and they grew up with more than a fair amount of digital stuff in the house, but I watched their adoption of email as
Mm.
as they grew into adults. And if I'd asked them at 12, at 14, email, they'd have been like, right. Um, but at least the US teenagers becoming adults, when they went through the college application process,
Mm.
all of a sudden they had to pay attention to email. Why? Because that was how that whole
Yeah.
coordination and marketing was done. Colleges send a lot of glossy brochures and a lot of glossy emails. That was the on-ramp for them.
Yeah.
And now I know both of them have at least 3 different addresses, and they do stay on top of their inbox and stuff. It's like the workplace, because it's still the neutral carrier, email,
Yeah.
the workplace and business will continue to use email. And so your 12-year-olds may go, I don't need it. But if they have a job in 10 years and go, oh, I don't want to, email a client, I'll do it on WhatsApp. It'll be like, I'm sorry, who asked you, right? Get in your inbox and pay attention and deal with it, right? Because it is a common carrier and an international common carrier, which is a big deal, right? Messaging platforms are quite fractured in terms of their dominance in particular nations or regions, whereas email, absent China specifically.
Yeah, China. We experienced that because
Yeah.
my co-founder, the CTO guy, had a chance to travel to China with a program for startups, and
Oh, wow.
he started pitching about our email creation platform, and they were like, email,
Yeah.
email. We use WeChat.
Yes. Yes. They use
It
WeChat
was
for
like,
everything.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have customers from that region, but only from Hong Kong. So
Interesting.
and
Interesting.
it's a fashion brand. They are one of the first bigger customers for the company, and it's quite funny because we use the name EDM designer, and EDM stands for electronic direct mail in Hungary, and that's how this name came up, which
Okay.
it doesn't make any sense for people in the US, but it's still funny that we got some Australian and Asian customers because they use the same EDM expression for email or marketing emails.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow.
And they do send emails
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
but mostly not to China, but to Korea, Japan, and some other
Their own
countries.
international market.
Yeah, and they do have a website. They ask for email addresses. So I guess there are some people still in China who use email, but maybe it's something that they view in WeChat, not in.
Yeah. Yeah. I had read if you have a Chinese colleague, business contact, whatever, if you ask them for their email address, they'll literally have to pull out their device and look and search. They won't necessarily know it. And I would bet business cards are always a great diagnostic, right? What's on top, right? It used to be business card with physical address and phone number, and then it was physical address, phone number, and Then we started attaching the email address, and now you get salad, right? Like email address, LinkedIn address, this address, Twitter address, like ding, 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 ding. But I don't expect to see, and here's a good, we'll make this the litmus test. You and I just came up with this. I would be surprised to see a messaging address on a business card, because which one, right? Which one am I supposed to use? Is this a WeChat address? Is this a WhatsApp address? Is this a Facebook, instant messenger? You'd have to give me context. You couldn't just give me an address. You'd have to say, Facebook I am, here's my address. WeChat, here's my address. WhatsApp, here's my address, all that crap. And I know Facebook wishes they could have consolidated that, but I don't think they will, and I sure hope they don't.
Yeah, there are some solutions where you can look up your nick if it's available on certain social sites. But it would be hard to stay concise with various messaging platforms. I think email will stay strong. It's just, it was interesting to hear your point on the adoption. So maybe it just happens later. So that's what.
Maybe, but we're at a stage where that voluntary, cooperative adherence to standards that helped the digital ecosystem grow so rapidly in the last 20 years is falling off somewhat. And I'll pick on an email specific example to give us a different topic to go into. When Apple announced their mail privacy protection last June, they said, well, customers are worried about spy pixels. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but that's what they said. And what they meant was, because email can be told, go fetch this image, a lot of data got returned with that image fetch, and email marketers in particular, CRM companies and so on, utilized that one little bit of feedback, that one little bit of this thing got open feedback. But when Apple said, we're going to mask that, we're going to proxy that image fetch, among other things, they stopped adhering to the HTTP specifications fully. The cache header specifications and related specs that say, for example, don't cache this image, Apple ignores. So voluntarily, and it helps to be a $1 trillion company or whatever they are now, voluntarily said, oh, we don't quite have to play by the HTTP rules. Why? Oh, for these other reasons. We went through a stage where voluntarily, or because you knew it would grow your playing by the RFC rulebook, internet rulebook for standards, helped you go places and grow. And now you see companies starting to fudge it and starting to selectively ignore if they think it's better for their business or Apple's rationale, their customers. So you and I could publish an IAM spec tomorrow. No one would write to it, even if it was brilliant, right? Why? Because they think they're going to win with the proprietary, I'll get my market, you get your market thing.
Yeah, I think I wasn't the one to monitoring this part of the world too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more stuck in the design and the process and the side of email marketing. I spoke about dark mode, a live event. There was one live event eventually in December in Valencia, organized by Andrew Bonner.
By Andrew Bonner, yeah.
It was great.
On a while back.
He's organizing now another event in Valencia.
In Valencia, yeah.
Yeah, or somewhere around. At least it's in the summer.
It's in Spain. Nice.
In Spain, and it's for a few days. I think he's trying to make email people just visit this nice country and just have fun. And, that's the best thing about live events.
Have you been back to a live event yourself?
Yeah.
Post-COVID?
Yeah, this one in December.
Okay.
And that's where I spoke about dark mode.
Okay.
So I dug deeper into dark mode, and it's a nightmare. So you mentioned email
Why is it a nightmare?
I have to say that from as a private person, I can say that the Outlook produces the best dark mode experience. It's really surprising, but it does. better in terms of readability and in terms of, making the email look enjoyable on dark mode. I think Outlook does the best job. But for the other, so Apple Mail, Gmail, so each of them do it differently. And it's hard. It's again, the lack of standards for editing in email. And that's why, it's a painful to code email still. And that's why solutions like ours can leave.
Oh yeah.
It's for bread and butter, the lack of standards. So
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Good point. And not only lack of standards, but on the actual looking at the email end, I think I read that there are something like 15,000 legitimate combinations of email client plus operating system plus version plus probably localization. Like it's ridiculous how hard a job you're doing.
yeah, maybe it's even more.
Oh,
I think what was funny, I prepared for a few weeks for this specific presentation, and I did my last round of tests, and I decided to create a test email where I only had famous brands colors matched with a high enough contrast text. And that's what I sent out. So colorful stripes with text. And then it turned out that, Apple Mail does change the color, but in my previous version, I add also an image into this stripe. And since it had an image, the color didn't change. And I thought that, okay, nothing changes in Apple Mail. But when I did my last round of tests, it turned out that, okay, it didn't change it because there was an image. And I was like, oh, come on, I need to add another 10 slides because I just realized it. But it was better to realize it before the presentation because otherwise I would have told people that it's nothing you need to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. You need to worry about.
It turns out it is. You yourself have a design background?
No, I'm not a designer. Originally, I'm an online marketer, economist. That was my original. But I came very interested in design a few years ago from a UX, UI perspective, and also from a conversion perspective. And I think we started dealing with design from the day we came up with the idea for this product.
Yeah, that's what the tool does, right?
Yeah, but I don't actually design things myself, so I wouldn't say that I would be able to design you a nice looking email because that's just not me. I'm more of I would say I'm a half geek person. I never became a developer, but I understand them. I know what they say.
Yeah.
I understand designers, so I'm somewhere in between.
Nice.
I'm interested more in the figuring out why do people do what they do when they see something. So it's not about how nice something it is, but how effective or how highly converting. Yeah. I'm a marketer, so I look at conversions.
No, that's and marketers like applied design, applied communication, applied fill in the blanks. There's where at the coal face, I think the phrase is interesting. I find myself going back in my head to your observation that out of your 30 classmates, only 2 of you ended up as entrepreneurs. My observation is, as a fellow entrepreneur, it's irksome that entrepreneur has become kind of the fad of the day rock star term. All of a sudden everyone's an entrepreneur, and I'm like, it's harder than it looks, kids. It's not all glamour. It's a hell of a slog. It's a lot of work. It's not predictable. Like, what did you tell those high school kids about being an entrepreneur?
I told them, I think, a lot about the upside downs, and that's something that you have to prepare for. I mean, mentally, and if you start a company where you need to invest your money, not only time, or we were I wouldn't say lucky enough. We worked a lot to get investment in the very beginning, but we managed to buy out the investor. It was a painful thing to get the investment, especially because I broke my big toe just that morning with a kettlebell that fell off a shelf, and that's how I pitched for, I don't know, like 50 minutes to get the investment, and it was the start of enjoying the pain as an entrepreneur. It was physical pain, so it's not what you normally would expect.
Yeah.
But I think that was a message to myself saying that, okay, you got money, but hey man, this will be tough anyways.
It'll hurt. If you want to be an entrepreneur, step one, get some kettlebells.
No, I wouldn't advise, but that's how it just happened. So
That's fun.
there are many upside downs. I think even for those who manage to raise a bunch of money and that's how they build their company. We have our own little startup mafia, not in the same way. So we are not trying to murder other entrepreneurs, but we sit down together and exchange ideas and discuss challenges, do introductions like you would do if you were in a portfolio company for a bigger VC with a great track record. It's something similar. And that's where we can exchange ideas about pretty much anything. And, there are many who are just going down, who are giving up after a few years. So the people who are in this group change a lot. And we see that. I think what would be important for those who are looking to start their business is just the networking part and build relationships. Don't jump right into it. Or if you feel that, you are prepared, just do it. It doesn't matter. The sooner the better. That's what I say, because I was 27, I think, ish, no, or 20 something, 26 when we started the company, and I already had my first kid, and it's a different lifestyle. So this other guy who I mentioned to you, a founder of this messaging company, they funded the company back in the university at 20.
Yeah.
The age of 20 or something like that. And they were so smart. They managed to grow fast. They got investment from visible investors, also from the US. So I try to encourage young people when I see the passion and when I see also that kind of, endurance, or they can just go wherever they want to and they will do it, that kind of attitude. And that's when I say that, okay, go for it. No matter if you will fail, it doesn't matter. There's a place to live. You can stay with your family. Your costs are pretty low. Why don't you just do it?
Yeah.
So
no, that's really good advice. And I mean, if it's not a screw up to found a company and have it not turn into a huge business. Like, in fact, you have 90% probability that's what's going to happen. Think of it as an education. Think of it as, you're going to learn stuff you won't learn any other way, particularly about yourself, I think. And in your 20s, if you do that, you have a lot of years left to take those lessons and do additional things with them.
Yeah. And when I sometimes go out to startup events, I like to speak with those who are young and they are very early on their journey, because they are the ones who can make a big difference in a few years. And I'm just always trying to encourage them to do it, guys.
Yeah.
If you need help, just let me know. I can intro you to a few people, whatnot. So I think the pay it forward mentality is the reason why I like building a software startup. No, if we are not a startup we're not just starting now. So we've been around for a few years, but we are still not a large business. We are small. And I don't think that this business would have 100 employees anytime soon. So maybe that's not something that we would aim for, but we just wanted to focus on a few things where we can stay strong and have a certain percentage of the market, and pretty much that's it. But you can dream big, but I'm very much in favor of B2B businesses, because that's where you can charge money and that's where somebody will pay for what you provide them.
Yeah.
I don't understand B2C.
B2C that is a tough, no thank you, tough turf, man. No, I agree with you there.
There are some for whom it pays out one way or another, but it's so much harder, and
it's a scale game.
Yeah.
Although I'll give you one B2C niche that I think is a little bit different, and that's really blossomed in this COVID and post-COVID period, and that's specifically knowledge, learning, education, selling a course or a package of knowledge on fill in the blanks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I find I've been around it, right? Just edges, and it feels a bit B2B, even though it's B2C, because it's still, it's like can be completely digital. It's about, stuff between your ears. It's not physical, tangible, drop shipping kind of stuff like that. Products to consumers, I'm with you. But the knowledge creation, knowledge economy is an interesting and growth niche for consumers. I think it's exploded in the last year or so.
Yeah, and the paid newsletters or
paid newsletters. Yeah, good example.
Yeah,
good example.
That's something I encourage people to do instead of starting a business when they are early on, because I think you get to know a community that you would be able to market to if you have any solution. So I think it's a good entry point, and it's low effort, but you would have faced very similar challenges as if you were starting any sort of business.
Yes.
And
That's
if you have a paid newsletter, you will need to provide value. So you will research one topic very deeply. You will get to know those people, their needs. And so I think that's a good starting point.
That is terrific advice. That's just terrific advice. There's a, I think he's Australian. There's a writer, blogger, I don't know what you want to call him, a man who makes a lot of words, named Tim Denning, who I read fairly frequently on Medium. And he said something very similar to what you just said. He's like, make yourself write and publish or send every week for a year straight. By the end of that year, your life will be different. And I was like, that's pretty good advice.
Yeah. And I think I was surprised to see that the paid newsletters are a thing now, but yes, for some reason
about that Substack and like email's got this whole odd new life going on in the publishing world.
Publishing is really strong. So we speak a lot with publishers, and many of them don't have a paid newsletter, but their newsletter grew so much stronger. So I think it will keep growing for, I don't know how many years, not too long. So I would think it's a hype. And
you think so?
I'm not sure if it's really if there's really a change in the way you would expect to consume news or learn about new things.
Yeah.
If that would be really your inbox.
Yeah.
Maybe if there are some tools that can help you consolidate or, be selective with what you consume, then maybe yes. I think maybe why it became so much powerful is that people stayed home because of COVID, and they didn't have too many face-to-face conversations, and some topics that they exchange with their fellow colleagues. Those were the topics that they got news about from the newsletters. So somehow, I think maybe somehow it's related with the change of, all these lockdowns and everything. So this rapid change in our personal and professional lives.
Yeah.
Maybe that somehow influenced it, but I'm just guessing. So I'm not.
I wonder. I wonder. That one's going to be, talk about our 10 years, sort of 10 years, what's going to happen window. Let's take it as a given. We'll still be emailing people in 10 years. I think that's fair, right?
Yes.
What will be the modalities of use of email? I wonder if straight up marketing emails have the same long-term viability, because the inbox is so darn noisy, because natural constraints of email, like, they're not that rich, and they'll never be legit media bundles, email messages. And I'm kind of dotting to something that surprised me about 3 weeks ago. One of the bigger enterprise email platforms in the US, Zeta Global, actually partner for Campaign Genius, bought a newsletter company, Archimax. And I was like, that's unusual, right? You think ESP, sends and volumes and the production flow and all that other stuff. It's like newsletter company. But I got to tell you, if there's a company that wants to stay on brand relationship with me, a regular high quality content that interests me newsletter has a very different bid for my attention than sell, pitch, sell, pitch, right? Because I may tolerate it, but it's tiresome. It's repetitive. And something new, something useful, something insightful on a fairly regular basis. The content that's valuable for its own reasons. That's interesting. It's kind of a content marketing play in email, if you will.
And do you pay for newsletters?
I do. Boy, did you just tee that one up and let me swing at it. Yeah, there's a newsletter, and I mention it frequently. There's a newsletter called Stratechery, written by one guy, Ben Thompson, that I pay for. And it's pretty much the top pick for me to read every morning in my inbox, because he's wicked smart and incredibly prolific. And I'm like, of course I pay for Stratechery. I'm like, my God, that's such valuable, like, insight from me. And he doesn't really commercialize it. Stratechery's product is Stratechery, right? He's not doing Stratechery to sell, servers or cloud computing or something like that. He could, but I don't think he would. Do you pay for newsletters?
No, I'm not.
No? Yeah.
I think it's only because I focus my learning patterns, or, I focus my interest on a certain topics, and there aren't too many newsletters that would be relevant to me, or at least I'm sometimes a bit reluctant to lead long form emails. So I'm the person who's trying to scan information, get as much as possible fast, and sometimes I feel that it's not the newsletter, or I just visit regular sites that I come back to, and I know where to look for what I'm looking for.
Gotcha. Well, Roland, I could tie you up for an hour, and we could do most of that just talking about your journey as an entrepreneur. I do want to wrap up to free you up for your next meeting, but quick question. You said you're prepping for a half Ironman?
Yes, I do.
What happens in a half Ironman?
It's 1.9 kilometers swimming as a warm-up, then 90 kilometers, I don't know in miles, so it's okay. I think 60 miles or something. Cycling, and then a half marathon. So
wow.
That's
September, I think you said, right?
September, and the goal is somewhere around 6 hours.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's awesome. You'll have to drop me a note and tell me how it went.
Yeah, I'm confident that I will be able to do it, and it already worked off from a health side.
Yeah,
because I lost like 15 kilos That's,
Wow.
I don't know in pounds, but
A lot.
it's a lot.
That's a lot. No, you look great. You look great.
And I'm healthy.
Stay away from the kettlebells, by the way, when you're getting close.
No, you can enjoy yourself while you're cycling too, so it's not a problem.
There you go.
But I think that's like a last note advice to anybody building a business is to take a close eye on your health. That will be really important to be in a good shape when you struggle with any business related challenges. But it's easy to give up on working out when you have other problems.
Great advice. Well, we'll wrap. My guest, thank you for making the time to connect, has been Roland Pokornyik, founder, CEO of Chamaileon. Roland, it's really been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Matthew, and your pronunciation was awesome. I mean,
Woo!
getting my name. Thanks.